Hello, everybody. Phil Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is the 23rd of November, 2021. Click on the subscriber button below here to subscribe, and also the notification bell in the far upper right to be notified when future episodes are released. Today's topic is All is Lost. So let me pull up my notes on that. Johan Wolfgang von Goethe said, "When courage is lost, all is lost." When Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted last Friday, many in the mainstream media and even President Joe Biden condemned the jury's decision as racist. In truth, it's more likely that the accusers themselves are engaged in reverse racism. While Kyle is no hero, he is a victim. America's power elite and almost all her major institutions were united against him for over a year. Despite his unanimous acquittal, Facebook and Twitter both banned donations for him only 3 days after the Kenosha riots started over a year ago. One Virginia policeman donated to such a fund elsewhere, and he lost his job. He is now seeking to be reinstated. Nonetheless, Facebook and Twitter allowed funds to support jailed Black Lives Matter activists who were arrested during the 2020 riots. Even Vice President Kamala Harris contributed to one such fund, although it may not have been one on Facebook or Twitter. Following Rittenhouse's acquittal last Friday, the usual suspects rioted, storming into upscale stores like Nordstrom's to loot expensive merchandise by the armful and stuff it into getaway cars waiting at curbside. None of this is going to stop until Americans demonstrate the courage to call it what it is: a media and elite culture that perpetually excuses bad behavior of so-called victimized minorities. After Darrell Brooks drove his car through a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, killing 5 adults and injuring 18 children, 2 of them critically, only 2 days ago, CNN declined to even identify that he was a Black male hours after it was a known fact. It did not fit their inflexible narrative of white males as oppressors and Blacks as victims. In truth, Blacks account for 53% of all murders, even though they represent just 13% of America's population. Thus, they account for 4 times as many murders as their proportional population share. Now, this does not mean that the great majority of Blacks fail to be law-abiding, which in fact they are. The disproportionate murder statistics largely result from a small minority of offenders within the Black community who commit most of the crimes. Thus, it is not racist to explain that the greater proportion of crimes is caused by Blacks. It is, however, racist to stereotype all Blacks as criminals because, as noted, the vast majority obey the law. Nothing is going to change until America develops the courage to identify this false narrative for what it is: an agenda-driven movement to demonize all those who oppose the Democrat Party in its quest for dictatorial power. Much of the same can be said for Confederate memorials. Few supporters of them would object to organizations wanting to erect memorials to those who resisted slavery or who promoted civil rights in the past, just so long as the Confederate memorials remain in place. We can share our heritage, but the practice of unilaterally destroying them, that being the Confederate statues, and replacing them with mocking memorials such as Richmond's Rumors of War, or its memorial to Nat Turner, who hacked to death dozens of white women and children with an axe during a slave uprising. Well, nothing is going to change until America musters the courage to call such conduct what it is. Let me share just a moment my screen so you can see what I'm talking about with the rumors of war statue. This statue is called Rumors of War, and it is in Richmond. It is a mocking replica of the J.E.B. cavalryman, J.E.B. Stuart, who was a Confederate cavalryman, and the statue that they had for him. And this one, the rider of the horse is a black man, and he's wearing Nike sneakers. If there's a reason that cowboys wore boots, and one reason is that you really can't control your horse very well without it. You certainly are going to have a hard time riding a horse with Nike sneakers, particularly if you've never done anything with a horse. Now, yeah, the Indian ponies, they got away with it, but it took a lot of training. The cowboys of the 19th century wore boots for a reason, and even people who ride horses today will tell you the same thing. You really don't want to get on a horse with a pair of Nikes. But this mocking statue shows the ignorance of the people that want to promote this type of image. So anyway, that's my point on the mocking statue in Richmond of what they call rumors of war, and it's to mock the statue that was there for J.E.B. Stuart. And the reason that we need to have the courage to do this is because nothing is going to change. For example, this attitude towards Confederate monuments of destroying them, defacing them, vandalizing them, removing them, what this really is hate. The people that do that to the statues, they hate not slavery or racism per se. They hate those of us who want to commemorate the ancestors, our ancestors, who defended our homeland. Which leads me to really elaborate a little bit on Johan Wolfgang von Goethe's quote. Because what he says is, when honor is lost, much is lost. But when courage is lost, all is lost. So when we let these Confederate statues get destroyed, we lose all. If we now don't muster the courage to challenge those people who hate us personally and call them what they are, snobs and racists in some cases, then we won't have, then all is lost. Finally, I wish to say I witnessed the radical counterculture of the 1960s. They opposed the establishment of that day, but today is different. Today, the establishment is the counterculture. And nothing is going to change until we gather the courage to call them what they are. Wannabe dictators and anti-white racists. Bear in mind, the only systemic racism in America today is affirmative action, which penalizes most of all white males. For the academic years 2020 and 2021, Princeton University put out a press release a little less than a year ago saying that 68% of those accepted identified as being non-white. I don't believe that statistic is true. I believe some people fudged and cheated to try and get in under affirmative action. But that shows you the extreme to which it has gone. Whites are realizing they cannot get into Ivy League schools without competing with affirmative action. But the interesting point is that when they were able to, there was another study done in October of this year, when they were able to indicate they were a member of a minority group, about 80% of the whites were accepted. So they got a boost in their testing board scores by about 200 points. But that's another story. and it's a good one, perhaps for another day. But today, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.